and welcome to the Dead NBA podcast. My name is Sean, and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Boffman. Boffman, man, how are you?
Oh, awesome. How
awesome.
are you?
I'm good. You don't sound awesome.
Nah, I've been waylaid with a nasty variety of influenza for most of the last week.
Yeah.
So if I'm coughing throughout the episode,
which you won't hear because we're editing it.
Apologies for that. Or if my speech seems stilted because I've coughed in between and Sean has gracefully edited it out, I apologise for that. And also, if I cough on you, confined space here, don't want to be coughing and spluttering all over you.
Nah, we've talked a lot about particles in the past 3 years, so let's move forwards to this new normal.
This COVID thing,
this nasty cough. But because you've been sick and been having a pretty crap week, I obviously have to counter that with a pretty good week. And we didn't record last week because I was in Byron Bay, living up the life. Mid-20s every day. I got sunburnt on 2 days. I was sitting at the beach. I was, drinking pints of the good stuff and literally just being stress-free. And I'm just trying to think of a story that I can say about it. But
did you have a nice time?
I had a nice time, but when I came back, Dad gave me a ring and he goes, "Oh, Sean, how was your trip?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, trip was pretty good. Did this and that." And I was super refreshed. Just had so much energy. Like I was sleeping like 9-10 hours a day. Like it was incredible. Actually came back like healthier than I was when I left, which might be the first holiday since I was 12. That's happened. But yeah, I was just saying to Dad, like, bloody completely legitimate. I was just like, good to get away, good to have a rest up, sit down at the beach and just etc. And he's like, "Sean, you sound like a fucking old man." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's actually the first time I've ever said that, and not even just been saying it ironically."
You are an old man at heart, though.
Well, we all are. It's just a matter of getting there.
Well, you've got there. You have well and truly got there.
All right, well, that's out of the way. Let's just talk about, you've got the run sheet in front of you. Scroll up to the top. I wrote a couple of notes because obviously if you've seen the name of this episode, we're going to be doing the over-unders, which is a Deep 2 staple that we've been doing for 3 years now. I think the first one was...
It was in August 2019.
How about that?
Which was
a bygone era.
A mere 4 months after we'd started the podcast. And little did we know that we would give birth to this beloved yearly tradition. And last year, you famously, along with trying to do the double number push,
I tried to do it this year as well.
You dirty dog. Along with trying to do the double number push on the New York Knicks last year, you also said, because you had gone 15 overs and 15 unders, that you thought that you'd nailed it. You thought you were going to get 30. You were going to get 30 out of 30, and I tried to explain to you that that's not how that works. Did you get 30 in the end?
Nah, but I still won, didn't I?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I've won 2 in a row. So this is...
How have you not won 3 in a row? I'm not very good at this game.
Because we haven't done 3 yet. This is the third one.
2019, 2020, 2021, 2000 and...
We should have searched this before we...
22.
Yeah.
This is the 4th one.
Is it?
And I'd be shocked if I had a win.
I think we were close last year, but obviously if you've listened to these podcasts before, you know what we're doing, but we've gotten the most recent over-under projection that we can find. I think this was set at September 12th, 2022, so obviously after the Donovan Mitchell trade, after the KD saga. So we found some numbers, the over-under numbers, and I think they're pretty good. I mean, nothing else major is going to happen unless you think the Gary Harris torn ligaments, big news. So yeah, we've just gotten the numbers. We're going to pick whether we're going over or under, or potentially even a cheeky little push, whether that be on a round number or a 0.5 number. But there's precedent there, so it can be done. And we'll start us off with the Brooklyn Nets, who their number is set at 45.5, and that would put them in at the 7th seed. Dante, what have you done with the Nets?
I've gone over, but I had deliberated on this so much, and I'm so tempted to go under.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I went over and I almost made it my best bet. Because they won. I've got it here. This is why we got the printout. But they were the 7th seed last year, or the 8th seed. 7th seed. They won the play-in. And they won 44 games. So that team last year had the Kyrie Irving vaccination saga where he was in and out of the lineup, and then he wasn't, and then he was injured. They obviously had the James Harden, who didn't try to play basketball at a high level, ended up getting traded for Ben Simmons, who didn't play basketball. Kevin Durant, he's just a 7-footer with some injury history, so he's always going to miss the odd game here and there. And some of the lineups I thrown out there were absolutely disgusting. Like Blake Griffin was playing basketball at the start of the year for this team. So that was like a season from hell. And just because they have good players, they just naturally come in and win 44 games, 7-3, 2-6. And so this team, like this number is just 1.5 wins more. I think they're going to smash it because like Kyrie has to play. He has to prove that he's healthy. He has to prove that like he can be a basketball player because he's trying to get a new contract next year, let alone trying to win a championship, which, it's up in the air about that. So I think this team's like definitely going to at least be trying, should be healthy. And I don't know why you're worried about it not happening.
Well, let me tell you why I'm worried about it not happening. Couldn't be worse than last year, right? Why not?
Because Ben Simmons didn't play a single game.
What makes us think that after 18 months of experiencing a public eye mental breakdown and not playing basketball, that Ben Simmons is going to come back and be Ben Simmons? That Ben Simmons who wasn't cleared until, or maybe still isn't cleared for 5-on-5s.
I think he was playing 4-on-4 the other day.
He's going to be healthy. And, eyes on the prize. Like, it's a 3-tiered matrix with him of mental makeup, health, and actually being good at basketball after a very, very long layoff. And, yeah, it makes sense on paper that Kyrie, contract year, needs to have a great season to get the bag one more time. It's fucking Kyrie. I'm done penciling in shit that looks good on paper with him. His capacity for mayhem is unmatched, and I'm not underestimating the ability for that to happen, even in what would seem like a more stable scenario. And then the other thing is that he's not also a bastion of health. He's had serious knee injuries in the past. He missed basically the whole first season, bar 13 games when he first came to Brooklyn. And over the last 2 seasons, if he had been more available, potentially we might have seen more injuries from him, as had been not uncommon in his post-Cleveland career. So, the combination of those two characters and the fact that Kevin Durant is turning 34, if you get one of those characters, something goes wrong with them, and something happens to Kevin Durant misses 30 games and one of those guys goes off the rails or gets hurt, like, the team's done. It's completely sunk. So I am still going over because it's only, like a game
1.5 over the season from hell.
Season. So it is a sensible thing to do, but it's extremely on my radar.
Yeah.
This could be, not to mention that the coach might get fired. This could be like a tire fire really quickly. In lots of different ways.
I just think it was a tire fire last year, and they were 1.5 games under this. Like, it's kind of rough on Kyrie to say, well, he hasn't had the injury concerns because he hasn't had to play. But like, Paul. No,
but when he does that, when he has, in Boston as well, he missed a little time.
But I'd rather he miss 20 games with an injury than 60 games with no vaccination.
No, definitely. But I'm just saying, it's saying that you have to be. That's something you have to include before you think that he's like a stable asset. Like, even if somehow you manage to get him mentally in the right place to be a basketball player, and he's playing really well, there's still this other substantial thing that could occur. It's like you have to jump through so many more hoops with him than almost any other player to even get to a point where you feel confident that they're going to be on the court.
And I know you're not a fan of Royce O'Neal, but he's added depth there, and signing TJ Warren again.
Royce O'Neal's fine. I'm not a fan.
He's just a player.
I'm just not buying into the Royce O'Neal defensive stopper.
Yeah, okay. He's like Bruce Brown too. And TJ Warren, if he's healthy.
TJ Bucket.
All right.
That's someone. There's someone's called TJ Bucket.
Is it?
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Jimmy Bucket.
Yeah, because they had wasn't there like the beef going back and forth in the bubble first round series?
I don't know. Maybe I got my buckets crossed.
All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia 76ers, whose number's set at 49.5, and that would be 3 seed. I've gone over. You've also gone over. Man, coffin pod. It seems low for an MVP Embiid. Like, this seems like it will be Joel Embiid's MVP year. And if he just plays like he did the past 2 years, I'm sure they'll just give it to him because people get sick of giving awards to the same person 3 times.
And because he's been complaining about it.
James Harden looks fitter, and they just added better fitting pieces with Montrezl Harrell, Daniel House, D'Anthony Melton, and PJ Tucker. This is a 50-win team. Again, I think this could be one of my best bets. What do you think?
Yeah, I've gone over as well, and pretty hard on the over. I would definitely expect this team to be a top 2 or 3 seed in the East.
Mm-hmm. Also, they won 51 games last year.
Yeah.
They played a full 82 last year, yeah?
Everyone did.
Yeah, cool. It just doesn't seem smart to give this team 49.5 when they won 51 last year and they were a worse team.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of the best bets. Nothing much to add there?
No, I think it's pretty cut and dry on that one.
Yeah, this is our first actual disagreement. So the Boston Celtics, their number set at 55.5, which would put them in the 1 seed in the East, and I think the number 1 seed in the whole entire NBA. You've gone over and I've gone under. Why have you hit the over here?
Because I think whilst this team might be tempted to kind of take their pedal off the metal, knowing what it takes to get to the NBA Finals and compete against a champion, maybe they'll say, like, okay, we know what we need to do to get there. We know we can do it. Let's just breeze through the regular season. I think even if a little bit of that creeps into their mindset, the moves that they made during the offseason, namely the Brogdon deal, have helped them get so deep that won't be a problem anyway. Because on any one night, if any of their players are kind of like cruising or coasting, or they want extra rest for a couple of guys on back-to-backs, they're so deep at every position to be able to compensate for that. And historically speaking, for a 1 seed, mid-50s is pretty bang on. And I think that this team's going to be the best team in the conference next season.
Yeah, I'm just not as excited about their depth. Like, Al Horford is like awesome. He's been in the NBA for 15 years. Like, that's really cool, and he's still managing to play at a high level. But eventually, that's just going to stop. And I'm obviously not the biggest fan of Al Horford for really reasons related to his family.
Reasons related to his sister.
So, like, the Gello move was great, and we said that in the off-season grades. I'm like, awesome, just adds regular season depth. I hope he never touches the court in the conference finals and the finals, but now he's just not going to touch the court. And, like, while the Malcolm Brogdon move was awesome and they gave up peanuts, like, I was like, that's an amazing move, and I think I gave them like an A or an A+ for doing that. But then I was listening to pods afterwards, and then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that was the best deal on the table." They didn't just move Brogdon to where he wanted to go; like that was the only first round pick on the table, because apparently everyone across the league is just petrified of Brogdon's injury report, and we're just like, we don't want to like take the chance of just having like an above average point guard getting paid fine amount of money just because we don't think he's going to play. Like, that's just bad value. So as soon as you start doing that, it's like, This is sort of the same team as last year.
This is sort of the same team as last year that won over 50 games last year, despite starting the first 30 games of the season playing like absolute dog water.
But with nothing to prove. They've also, like, the Rob Williams torn meniscus that he was like hobbling, still good in the finals, but like, I just don't really trust that coming through. Like, when was the last time we saw a guy like actually play well after getting that meniscus like full snip and just work with it? It was like Eric Bledsoe and the Suns. Maybe, Dwayne Wade did it back in like the 06 days and stuff. So it's like, we'll see. He's if Rob Will goes down, like, what have they got at the front?
No, for sure. If he goes down, Horford's not gonna get it done. But with a full off season of rest and recovery, they were obviously able to manage him to a point where he didn't really aggravate the meniscus after returning. Like, in 2-3 weeks after he tore it. He's back on the court. It seems more like I'm more encouraged with something like that, where we've seen him be able to be an effective basketball player anyway, and then you add on X amount of months rest and rehab. I'm more encouraged with that than something like the Lonzo Ball injury, which we'll get to soon, where you hear that they tear their meniscus and then it's like, oh, he's actually out for another 2 months.
Mm.
Or it's another 2 months. Or, you know, shit like a TJ Warren with his foot. Like, it's more concerning when they haven't returned and the prognosis just keeps getting extended. So I'm not actually that worried about Rob Will. And this team is, yeah, it's the same team as last year, but apply the Philadelphia argument. Even exclude Brogdon. This is basically saying that they're going to be as good as they were for the final 2/3 of last season. Throw in Brogdon, that's a cherry on top. Brogdon gives you 50 games of 28 minutes a game. There you go. Like that's an advantage. Like I think this team from last season would win, you know, in the mid-50s.
I'm not too confident about this one, but I'm still sticking the under.
Yeah.
All right, the New York Knicks are next at 39.5. That would put them in at the 10 seed. I've gone under. What have you done?
Trying to figure out how to turn the brightness down on your laptop. Oh, it's the top corner.
Yeah.
Alright, see, I've for the listeners, I forgot my laptop with all my notes, so I've co-opted Sean's iPad, and I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the whole world. We're talking Knicks now?
We're talking Knicks.
I've gone under.
Yeah.
Under.
You haven't pushed here?
No nefarious behaviour for me. Just wipe off the spit that I just spat onto your laptop, onto your iPad. No nefarious behaviour from me because I don't operate like that in this game, unlike you. But under, the New York Knicks are not going to win 40 games.
Yeah.
No way.
I feel really bad for them though. They've done everything right. Like they got Brunson, as you know. They got Isaiah Hartenstein, who might be the best free agent center, moving teams. It's just everyone in the East got so much better. Like the East is now so much stronger than it has been since LeBron left. And the fucking Knicks, like we both don't trust Jalen Brunson to be like a top 5 point guard in the league. It's so unfortunate, but so Knicksy.
Can I ask you a question? Who's going to be their best player this season?
It's not going to be Julius Randle.
So
it might be Rowan.
Who's
on a great value contract.
Yeah.
But actually, applying my logic from a couple of weeks ago, it might be Hartenstein. Like, he might have some just sexy on-off numbers. Like, someone's going to write an article 6 months from now where they've just cherry-picked some metric where it's like Isaiah Hartenstein is the best center in the league, or like Rudy Gobert 2.0. Are you ready for that?
Nah, not at all. And I think neither are the Knicks because they're paying Mitchell Robinson $15 million a year.
Yeah, and at least they don't have Taj Gibson anymore.
Yeah, well,
silver linings.
So if Rowan is the best player on this team, is it more likely to be by default, or because he's taken an all-star level jump? I'm gonna say that it's default.
Oh, that's so depressing. I mean, Jalen Brunson looked really good in the Utah series against a Utah team that was just falling apart and hated each other. Maybe over half the teams in the NBA hate each other, and he can just capitalize on that. Don't like their odds. They're gonna have 3 guys who are third best player on a good team types, and a whole bunch of role players who it's unclear whether they are even good. Because it will just be the best if we get 25 games into the season and everyone's like, oh, Quentin Grimes, he's not that good. What was Tibbs talking about? He's not that good. Is this year 3 or 4
of Tibbs?
Of Tibbs. You know how we said he's got a 3 year.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're making fun.
He's got the Mourinho 3-year window.
So they made the playoffs. I reckon they made the playoffs 3 years. Made the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year they underperformed, and now they've got Brunson. This is his third year. And then because they've upgraded the talent on the court, they're going to blame the coach. He's going to get fired in 3 years, and you and I are going to be right. Yeah. That's so nice.
It writes itself.
Yeah. But maybe they're going to, get a little buff from, getting like Kurt Rambis in on the sidelines for an extra 20 games.
With this number, when we do our reviews at the end of next season, we should put a note on it, remember to do a really firm handshake, because it's really nice to be able to share this Knicks pessimism with you, because I can't think of anything worse than doing a podcast with someone who like is like bought in on the Knicks, the Knicks optimist side of things. The Knicks get Brunson and your podcast co-host is like, yeah, I don't know, I could see them being a 4 seed. It's like, no, bro, I can't do this with you anymore.
All right, finishing off the Atlantic Division, we've got the Toronto Raptors, whose number's set at 44.5. That will put them in at the 8th seed. I've hit the over here because they're still Spurs East and they still just find a way to win no matter what happens. And we've doubted them for the past couple of years since Kawhi left, but they always just get value out of everywhere. And like, look, we could see a huge sophomore Scotty come up, and like maybe he's a guy who's going to be an All-NBA level guy, or maybe he's just going to be a little bit better than he was last year, which was like, you know, maybe projecting to be an All-Star. But all their other dudes are like in their prime or early prime, like Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. OG Anunoby, I don't believe he's going to make that leap to be like the next Kawhi, but at the
Even
very
if he
least,
doesn't.
he's the best 3-and-D player in the world.
Yeah.
I see them winning above 50 games, and this number's set at 44.5.
I like that because I like the Raptors. I thought about this one a little bit before going over, but ultimately I came down to like, do I think they're going to be better than Atlanta? And it's like, yes. Well, do I think they're going to be substantially better than Atlanta? Yes. Then I have to hit the over.
Like only so many teams can win 50 games.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So saying that they're going to win 50 games means they're going to be a top 4 seed.
Because we've got those 3 teams we mentioned, and then I've got the Cavs and the Hawks both hitting over 50 as well.
What about the Bucks?
Well, I've gone under there.
No, I know, but I'm saying like you've gone. The Hawks are going to be better than the Bucks.
For reasons we'll talk about
That's
next.
crazy talk, bro. That's crazy talk. If a couple of guys in white lab coats show up at your house later tonight, you're being committed.
So what have you done with the Raptors at 44.5?
Yeah, I've gone over.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
gone over.
Would you say it's best bet or just run-of-the-mill bet?
Run-of-the-mill bet. My best bet is in the Western Conference.
Yeah, right. Which is, I actually haven't looked at my West at all yet. Well, what's your
Sneak
preview?
I'm not going to tell you the left and best bet in the Eastern the Eastern episode.
Just nod if it's Memphis.
Nah.
Oh, right. All right, so the Central Division, the Milwaukee Bucks, whose numbers...
This is a juicy one.
their number is set at 52.5, which would put them in at the 2 seed. I've gone under. What have you done?
I've gone under, but only
just.
barely. Like, I think this team's going to win 50 games.
Okay, so like
If this
two,
game
two
was,
and a half.
If this game was, if this number was 51.5, I probably would have gone over. Like, I think this team's going to win 52 games.
And then you would have 50 win teams.
Hey, the East is back, baby.
So I've done it because Chris Middleton's missing the start of the season with a wrist ligament surgery, and there is no timetable for his return. Chris Middleton is a very good basketball player, and they're without him. They don't have Dante DiVincenzo, who wasn't good last season. They still have Grayson Allen, who wasn't good last season. Brook Lopez kind of fell off after coming back from back surgery, but like, you know, how much are you going to buy into a guy who's like 34 plus coming back from back surgery, another year on the speedometer? I still don't like Bobby Portis, as you know, and Bobby Portis is still there. And their big saving grace to come into this team was Joe Ingles, who's going to miss half the year with a torn ACL or meniscus. And he's going to come in halfway through the season and just be like right back into his prime value, which would be 2 years ago now, because last year he wasn't actually as good as he was the year before. And that's before obviously the major injury. So it's like Giannis is amazing, right? And Giannis, if you put him on any team, like the Greek national team, maybe they win 50 games in the NBA. But like this, I don't know. It's not Eurobasket. So like Jokic and absolutely nobody last year won 48 games, and you're telling me that Giannis and nobody for most of the season, and then see what happens with Middleton, is going to win 53. That's I don't see how that works.
I mean, I just disagree with you that it's Giannis and nobody, because, you know, it's
I haven't mentioned Drew Holiday.
Reckless to speculate that when Chris Middleton will come back. But let's just say like you get half a season of good Chris Middleton. Just hypothetically. That is so valuable. I fully believe in a Giannis' ability to kind of go supernova and take control for short periods of time to like kind of get the squad through. Drew is going to be there, consistent, available.
How old
And
is he?
I actually think that Bobby Portis and Grayson Allen are good role players on this team. Bobby Portis is like proven offense off the bench, and Grayson Allen is Positionally, he can slide between the 1 and the 2, and man can stroke it. And also, he might just foul your best player out of the game by drawing a tech on him. I think where this team really could be in trouble is with Brook Lopez, because their defensive scheme has been reluctant to rely on Giannis as like the rim anchor. That has been Lopez, and that has been their success. If he's not able to do that, they won't be able to play the same scheme to the same effect, which could force a difficult decision for Mike Budenholzer, famously reluctant to change his defensive scheme. You might have to face a bit of a reckoning there, like, are we going to centralise Giannis as a rim protector, or are we going to try and do things the way we've always done them? But I kind of think there's enough ingredients in the pot to churn out a pretty tasty meal.
I also just think that there's no one that's going to come in halfway. Like, no one's coming in at the trade deadline to save this team. Like, who's coming in here where it's like, okay,
LeBron.
No, but like, who's the next Brook Lopez who's available on the trading block,
you
right?
never know that until it happens.
These guys don't have any first round picks to move, and it's like, do you like Marjon Beauchamp? You can have him.
I love him.
Yeah, you can have him, and the dead salary of Bobby Portis of Brook Lopez if it is going poorly. So like,
you make a good point, but like, they literally have a defensive player of the year and 2-time MVP like as the guy. Not only like as the guy, but as one of the preeminent wrecking forces in the NBA in his complete absolute prime.
But so was Jokic, and they couldn't win 50 games.
Well, the difference would be that I guess Jokic lost both of his co-stars, whereas Giannis is only losing one for part of the season. I don't know. I struggle to see that it's the same situation.
Yeah, that is so heckin' valid, but I don't know, man. It's just,
I've still gone under.
But by one and a half.
This whole discussion is that I think they're going to win 51 games, and you think they're going to win 47.
Yeah, it's splitting hairs. The Indiana Pacers number is set at 24.5, which would put them the worst team in the Eastern Conference. That's the 15th seed in the East, which is quite bad for the Indiana Pacers or the Indiana Dantes, because obviously you love to buy into them. I've gone over, and I've got it as literally as my best bet.
So I've gone under on this.
Under the worst team in the league.
Not shame, but like the cocktail of emotions that I would feel if you got this right and I got this wrong after me making Indiana my best bet last year
for 2 years in a row, didn't you?
And saying, no, I think it was just last year. And speculating that Karis LeVert might take his game to a whole nother level would be it would be akin in deep to law. It would be akin only to
Darius Garland hitting and Colin Sexton.
Me being on the Colin Sexton bandwagon for like 4 years, and then you jumping on the Darius Garland bandwagon and turning out to be right. So I would be mad. I've gone under, and I don't really know why. Mainly just because like they're telling us that they want to be bad, and I'm like, okay, but I believe you.
Every pod I listen to, they're like, oh, Herb Simon's pretty ancient. He's not going to be around for long. And it's like, okay, we've been saying that for 10 years now.
Someone tell Herb to look at the roster.
But, like, the roster's all right?
Nah, it kind of sucks.
I'm a big fan of Miles Turner. And this defense...
Miles Turner's not going to be there past 30 games in.
But how's he still there? He shouldn't have been there for the past 2 years. If Miles Turner is as good as I think he is, and the defense is built around him, and he doesn't have to make up for Sabonis, or he doesn't have to make up for any, like, the sloppy fat boy at the 4, this defense is going to be built around him with an amazing point of attack defender in Tyrese Haliburton at the 1.
Amazing point of attack defender.
Yeah, he's extremely long. And this is Haliburton's season, where it's like, he's had the post-trade deadline just to, get settled in Indiana. Obviously, they're tanking, like, not too much pressure. But this is sort of like akin to, like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if he's going to play 82 games a year, where it's like, okay, you have the keys. Are you going to be an All-NBA player, an All-Star, or just, Goran Dragic, right? Like, which one are you going to be, Haliburton?
Goran Dragic famously
an All-Star
player.
Well, true. Yeah, once.
Ooh.
Well, try and pick third player who isn't all NBA. Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, right.
One-time All-Star. That's sort of level. So yeah, just this is going to be a prove it. I believe in Halliburton. I believe in Miles Turner as a great defender. Don't ask me who's playing the three on this team. Like they literally
Mathurin.
they don't actually employ any threes. But they do have a lot.
Where's Jeremy Lamb these days?
I think he might be a free agent or is in Sacramento, which is pretty indicting.
50-50.
I don't know, man. They want to win. And all they have to do is be better than the worst team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and they also... Sorry, excuse me. They've also been famously bad at being bad. Like, they're never, ever bad. So, also 25 is, like, not a lot of wins.
They won 20. They won 25 last year.
Yeah.
So they just have to be better than last year. And Miles Turner wasn't playing after the deadline for whatever reason. He was building a Lego. Yeah, I cannot wait for this. Like, I wasn't even doing this as a joke. Like, that the Pacers are my best bet, but it would be so Sean and Dante-esque.
It would. Yeah, it would be. Yeah. I'm all of a sudden not as confident as I was, but you know what, whatever.
Yeah, but you also don't like Miles Turner as much as me.
No, and I also don't think he's going to be there.
He would have been gone by now. But
true.
Let's move on to the Chicago Bulls, whose number is set at 43.5, which would put them in the 9 seed. What have you done here, Dante?
Let's talk about Lonzo. I've gone under. And let's talk about Lonzo.
I've gone under as well.
What's going on with this guy?
It's 2 weeks every 2 weeks.
Every fucking 2 weeks, I wake up in the middle of the night. I check my phone. I get a notification. Lonzo Ball timetable return delayed by 2 weeks. Come on, this is like warning signs.
Yeah.
Knee injury for athletic point guard. Like the guy's not been playing basketball for 6 months now.
There's going to be a YouTube video 9 months from now where it's just got some dude with his faces on the thumbnail, and it's going to be like a really washed out pic of Lonzo, and it's going to be like, what happened to Lonzo Ball? Was supposed to be the best point guard, the next Chris Paul, and now he plays in Beijing. While the Bulls eat his 40. And the worst part about this is it makes David Griffin look good.
Makes him look excellent.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? David Griffin's still fucking...
Because he got Devontae Graham instead. You'd rather just have a dude who's bedridden than a guy who's just coming off the bench for 15 mil.
Actually, seriously, would rather have a dude who's bedridden.
But if
than a guy who's addicted to shooting in the threes. And I don't mean... I do not mean shooting threes. I mean shooting in the threes.
So, all right, they don't have their point guard, and they don't know when they're going to have their point guard. They still have Zach LaVine, who they re-signed. They still have DeMar DeRozan, who... That's actually a win in D2 law for yourself.
Yeah.
Still got Nick Vooch, who's consistently a massive... big proponent of the 9 seed, and they, they're
he loves it. You cannot keep this guy away from the 9 seed.
The big pickups that they got were Goran Dragic and Andre Drummond. Still under, but I don't think it's going to be by much. I think this team's going to win like 40 games, be in the play-in, and it's going to be gross, and they're on the treadmill of mediocrity.
Yeah, I think that last season was probably like the high watermark for what a DeMar team is going to look like. Nothing wrong with that. That's just
Yeah. Like, they won 46 games last year, and they had, like, the hottest start ever. Like, there was a game between Golden State and Chicago, and it was, like, the battle of the 1 seeds. It's in, like, not February, it's before the All-Star break, but it's, like, battle of the 1 seeds. Warriors came out and smoked the crap out of them in the first quarter, and everyone was like, oh, it's okay, They've still won, like, 10 of their last 11 games, and it's like, that's pretty telling. That was actually the first playoff team that they played.
That team went, like, 3-18 on the season against teams that were in the top 6.
That was the stat.
They just couldn't beat.
Yeah,
they just couldn't beat quality teams.
And the East is better now.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them get to go over this and to hit mid 40s. But I fully expect them to be low 40s and like definitely in the play-in as an absolute worst. Because you're right, with DeRozan, LaVine, and Vooch, whatever Patrick Williams turns into.
He fucking better turn into it quick.
Some interesting and useful reserves. Caruso's still there. Drummond will be a good get as a backup 5. Like there's enough there to win 40 games. Like we're looking at this roster and we're saying like the New York Knicks are not going to win 40 games. This roster is way better than the New York Knicks.
Yeah, they don't have a best player by default. They've got a best player because he's good at basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What about like a Vooch, Pat Williams trade for Miles Turner? Would that change any of your decisions on either of these two teams? Obviously, that would, of course, buff up the Pacers because they just have to win 39 games in their sleep now because they have Vooch.
They have Vooch. Is that an overpay for Turner?
Or not in my eyes.
Is Patrick Williams no longer considered like a blue chip asset?
I think he still is. We're seeing in free agency just how much draft pedigree stays with you. Like even though he hasn't played a game of basketball in a long time, he's still just got the pedigree of just being drafted. Even though he was overdrafted and everyone acknowledged it at the time, but Ben McLemore still gets the job.
Well, him being overdrafted has worked in his favour because he was overdrafted as like, ooh, this mysterious guy. The Bulls see something in him, and these trendy, sexy NBA execs agree. These scouts really agree with what the Bulls see in him, and then he's kind of like thrived off that reputation of being like he's mysterious. We don't know what he could grow into.
He's got a blonde patch in his hair.
Who knows what he's capable of? And then we haven't seen him actually play basketball consistently, so we're still like, he got taken fourth. Like he's this mystery man. Like could he be the next LeBron? Like I don't know. Probably not, but I want to find out.
Yeah. I think his value's pretty low, and I think Turner's value's high. But anyway. Next team is Cleveland Cavaliers, whose number's set at 46.5, which would put them tied in the 5th seed with the Atlanta Hawks. I think this team can be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, and as I said before when we were talking about the top ends of the East, I think this is a 50-win team. Not only because their starting lineup is like super exciting and like actually really good at basketball. Coming off the bench, they've just got competence, and you're going to laugh a little bit, but they've got Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio, Raul Neto, and Karis LeVert. Like they've just got 4 dudes who help all of their issues last season, which is that Darius Garland went down. Ricky Rubio obviously went down and then got traded, and they just didn't have any point guard play whatsoever. Now they've got point guards. They've got I actually really like Evan Mobley, potentially like even being a bigger option on offense, and then obviously traded for Donovan Mitchell. Like this trade, this number 46.5 was set after the Mitchell trade, which is just mightily low. What have you done here?
Well, all Donovan Mitchell has done in his life is win over 46.5 games in every single season.
With good defenders behind him.
I've gone over as well, but can I just interrupt myself? Do I remember a conversation in the last 2 to 3 months between you and I on the pod where you were absolutely menacing Rick Rubio as a solid option backup point guard?
I don't know if two of them at the same podcast.
Must have been a different podcast. Must have been a different podcast with 2 white guys I was listening to. I get them all so confused. No, Rick Rubio, friend of the pod, Rick Rubio. It'd be great.
What has he done?
It'd be great to have him back. It'd be great to have him back.
His sister hasn't slagged me off on Twitter yet, so we're still alright.
So we're still in the in the good books.
No, but Ricky Rubio's, maybe I didn't like the contract because they could have given him like less. I think maybe it was an off-season thing because they gave him more money than he deserved. But it might have been a
nice
wink
guy.
wink. It might have been a wink wink when he got traded.
He's a nice guy. He's also Spanish. Have you ever heard Spanish people speak?
Yeah. Do you remember when Jenny Mazzell told the story about how Ricky Rubio just had a kid and she was like, oh, it's so nice. Like, I know we just got Chris Paul. Little did she know they were going to run to the finals with the Nonce, but he was like, oh, we just got rid of Ricky Rubio. Like, he's so lovely. He just had a kid and it was so nice to hear him talk about his kid. It's like, I don't know. Shoot the fucking ball.
Yeah.
Like, learn to take a 3.
Yeah, and also learn to make a 3. But Chelsea have just signed this Spanish defender, Marc Cucurella.
Yeah, I know all about him. I watched his debut.
Listening to him sparkling debut. Listening to him speak, I'm like, you guys, is this a joke? Is this like a meta joke? Spanish people speaking English? Because it sounds so funny. It sounds so like you're deliberately trying to make me laugh. Not in a way that it's like, oh, like that's like out and out, like slap your knee funny, like it's hysterical. Just in a way that's like, oh, these guys. You know?
Nah, maybe it's just a you.
Anyway, I've gone over on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I got the chance to tell you why.
Jared Allen's also pretty good.
These blokes are sick. They're going to be loaded.
Who's starting at 3 for the Cavs?
Isaac Okoro.
What about Chetty Osman?
Isaac Okoro, just for the job you want, not the job you have. Starting NBA 3.
And Dylan Windler is supposed to be good.
International man of mystery, Dylan Windler. Didn't Dylan Windler get drafted in the first round like 5 years ago?
3 years ago, he went 28th, which was like one pick before Golden State.
Do you know where he came from? What college?
I do love this game.
I actually don't know. I just remember that it was the most obscure. Like you won't have heard of it.
Oh, is it like South North Carolina? One of those stupid ones?
Nah, it's not like that. But it's
Is it like? Oh no!
It's a one-word name that's just like, what? What is this?
Dylan Windler, Belmont Bruins. That's not that stupid.
No, but you never heard of it.
Belmont.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone might have mentioned it before.
No, not the suburb in Perth.
Still don't know that one. Next team, Detroit Pistons, whose number is set at 28.5, which would put them in at the 13th seed. I've gone under. They've got all the incentive to lose. Rookies are typically bad. And you know that they're going to make a trade at the deadline if they see some value to throw away Alec Burks or Nerlens Noel or, I don't know, maybe even Beef Stew.
Oh, don't say that.
But Beef Stew is going to be starting at the 4 on opening night. Dwayne Casey actually had a bit of a... It's not going to get an SB Nation beef history, but it was a tiny beef where he said he was going to start... I should probably find that guy's name. It's just like their 13th man who's going to start at the 4 just because he's like literally the only dude. Isaiah Livers. He says he's going to start Isaiah Livers at the 4 just because he's like, I just need shooting. Like just who's their GM again? Troy Weaver. He goes, just give me shooting 4s. Like I've got 5 centers and I've got a couple of 3s and I don't have any 4s. So
surely it'd be better off starting Kelly Olynyk at the 4 if you wanted to get shooting in there.
That's the first thing teams are going to look at in a pick and roll as soon as he gets out there.
Well,
but then
again,
trying to win. You're not trying to win, which is why I've gone under.
But that's why they're playing Isaiah Livers, the 13th man at the 4.
You don't see any, like I said, you've also gone under, I should say. You don't see any like play-in push, like maybe they get off to a hot start. Checks notes for a easy strength of schedule to start. You know what? They've actually got one of the easiest starting schedules in the league. And one of the hardest finishes, but by the time you're in the finish, teams are tanking harder than they are on day one. Is there maybe a sneaky play-in?
You've got that around the wrong way.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you have. They've got a hard start and an easy finish.
Ah, I do.
So they're going to come out of the gates 2 and 13, and it's going to be well and good. No, I mean, like, there's every chance that Jaden Ivey needs a quarter of a season to like even figure out how to play NBA basketball. Cade has yet to show that he can consistently turn his excellence and court control into winning. And any veteran that proves too good for their role or too good for what Detroit needs from them will promptly be shipped out. Like, it doesn't have, you don't have to wait till the deadline to ship out your veterans.
This is a Kyle Korver January sort of trade.
You can do that as soon as December 15 hits. Not that these guys are signing contracts, but like you don't have to wait for some big like monumental thing. You can just say like, whoa, like Nerlens Noel is randomly playing really well, and we don't want him to randomly play really well. Who needs a backup center? Who needs a starting center?
News broke this morning about Nerlens Noel. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a dry period, so not much news is breaking. But Nerlens Noel, he lost his lawsuit against Rich Paul. It was dismissed, where he said that his agent didn't try hard enough to get him a good contract and gave him the wrong advice in taking the qualifying offer.
His agent got him the contract. He just didn't. He just advised him to not take it.
Yeah, which is probably the reason why he got dismissed at court. Next team, the Miami Heat. Their number is set at 48.5, which, should I say, is the exact same as last season, 48 wins, or 48.5 in Sean speak, because you can push half numbers. What have you done with this 48.5 for the Miami Heat?
I've gone over.
Do you feel confident?
Nah.
That's another 50-win team.
Yeah. Yeah, what do we got to know? Like 8 50-win teams? No, I've gone over, but in a similar vein to my Milwaukee pick, I would bet on this team Actually, I wouldn't bet because I don't bet on sports. And here at the Deep too, whilst we don't discourage you from betting on sports, we want to make sure that you have a healthy relationship with your sports betting app of choice.
Link in bio.
Did I mention the footy's on this weekend? Get your mates together and slap a bet on.
Go overlap.
Anyway.
Yeah, link in bio. ATC.
I would be betting on this team to be very high 40s, very low 50s. So I've gone over, but only just. I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, why is this team going to be good? And here's what I was thinking. Surely we see a good year from Bam. Yeah,
we've always seen good years,
but not in a satisfying way. Other than that first year where he was All NBA third team.
Yeah,
where he was like truly unleashed, and we were like, "Whoa, like this guy's like a point center." But he was also a good scorer that season. He wasn't shooting threes, but he was really striking it from the mid range. If he can kind of get back to that scoring form and be like a real legitimate number 2 scoring option, which is all he has to be, that could be really dangerous. Jimmy Butler, like, let's just pencil Jimmy Butler in as being Jimmy Butler.
What, 47 games? He hits like 10 threes in 2 games and then doesn't take any more.
He can be the guy when he's available. And I guess I would kind of hope like we can't see like a worse Kyle Lowry season than we did last year. From an availability standpoint, like he had injuries and he had family stuff going on that kept him in and out of the lineup all season long. An available, healthy Kyle Lowry as your third option. Throw in Tyler Hero, contract year off the bench. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it sounds pretty confident. So you've hit the over by 1 win. I've hit the under by quite a bit because this was the exact same amount of wins that they won last year, and how are they getting better? Like,
well, it's their exact same over-under, but it's not their exact same wins from last year.
It's not.
No, this is a good team last year.
Completely written that wrong.
1 seed last year.
Sorry, so they've won 53 games, and they lost PJ Tucker, who was a good glue guy.
PJ Tucker. All I hear is PJ Tucker. If I wanted someone to average 4.6 points, I know where I'm going.
Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, you sort of fobbed off Kyle Lowry had a bad season last year. He's pretty old.
Yeah, man, it's like we couldn't get a worse Kyle Lowry. No, we definitely could. It's absolutely possible that we do.
Like, the only high upside stuff here that I see is that Bam coming back to an All-NBA level. Victor Oladipo, he plays basketball. He played well in the playoffs. He played like more playoff games than regular season games. If he's healthy and he's actually good, he could be a good regular season player.
Victor Oladipo in 2022 is like the sirens for Odysseus and his ship crew.
Yeah, I've got that written down next, but I'll let you take that one, whatever.
If Victor Oladipo, if he's healthy and he's actually good, like, you're being dragged under. You're getting sucked into the beautiful siren song, and all of a sudden your ship is getting chopped up by the waves and the rocks, and the sirens are feasting on your flesh.
Yeah, right. I love Pirates of the Caribbean as much as the next bloke.
Come on now.
And they have a Martin twin who might have a little bit of upside. Which one? Well, that probably speaks to his upside, doesn't it? Caleb.
Yeah, I'm going Caleb on this one.
That's also the over-under. Caleb or Cody?
The depth, the deep two. God, that's a mouthful. Anyways, I'm Marco, co-host of the Hey, Daniel Gafford, what's the name of our podcast?
The JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Wow, I can't believe it's that easy. Thanks, Gaff. You probably know us as 2 members of the 4-Man Weave plus Marco, but we know you as our next listener.
Well said, Lucas. I gotta ask, how do we differ from the Pack of Basketball podcasts?
It's a great question, Marco. You see, on our basketball podcast, we have 2 male co-hosts.
Wow, truly groundbreaking. After this episode, stay on your favourite podcasting app and give us a spin.
The next team is the Atlanta Hawks, whose number's set at 46.5, which would tie them in the 5th seed with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've gone over. This is another just grown man team like the Cavs, who I think could exceed expectations. They've added quite a little bit of depth, like, the Justin Holiday types, akin to that Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio tandem. I don't like saying that.
Tandem's a great word.
No, just referring to Ricky Rubio and Kevin Love as a tandem.
I think that'd be a great tandem. I'm just imagining them on a tandem bike. Or maybe in a rowboat together.
Shaped like a banana.
Nah, shaped like a swan.
I was at the Big Banana last week. Did you see me? I sent a photo in the group.
What are you doing, you big banana?
Yeah, I'd love a John Collin trade because I think anything positive back for John Collin would be
What do you want
incredible.
to get back for John Collin?
Just a warm body, potentially one that plays the three.
I heard Cam Reddish is available.
Poor Cam Reddish, huh? You've been slagging him off forever and you turned out to be right.
Yeah.
But also just the biggest problem with this team, with the Atlanta Hawks last year, who won 43 games, so 3.5 games under this number, is that whenever Trae Young was on the bench, they were just absolutely shocking, like worst team in the league types of levels. So now they've got this two-headed point guard attack with DeJounte Murray, so when they're playing on the court together, they've just got two good guards, like, arguably some of the best guards on both defense and offense. But then you can stagger them, and hopefully they do stagger them so that for every single minute of the game that you play, you're going to have one good ball-dominant guard
They will
out there.
definitely stagger him.
And also Trae Young off the ball. This is the first time in his career where he's really been unlocked like a Steph Curry type.
Let's wait and see if it happens first.
Yeah, but
Notoriously, ball-dominant players don't just switch off the ball just because someone else who can dribble gets there.
But what the fuck's he going to do? Just stand at the extension of the pressure line.
Which is why part of the reason why I'm so hesitant about this team, because I just think that combo might not work. Because if Trae doesn't move off the ball, then you have Murray off ball a lot more, which is not his strength at all. So he has to kind of be willing to share the controls in order to incorporate Murray's skill set, but also leverage and unlock that skill set that you're talking about, that off-ball skill set, which in theory he has, but in the NBA level we've never seen it. He's never been a spot-up shooter because he's always been an off-the-dribble shooter, and it makes sense that he would just be able to step into that, he's a great shooter, step into that spot-up role, but it doesn't come naturally to him. That much is clear. And maybe he's reluctant to relinquish control. Maybe he wants to incorporate Murray into his system rather than altering the system to share.
Yeah, there is no incorporating Murray into his system.
I'm skeptical that it might not actually work between those two, which would be diabolical for the Hawks with what they've invested in Murray. I've gone over just because it's only 3.5 games.
Yeah,
more than last season,
and they added an All-Star.
If you had have told them after making the conference finals the season before that they would only win 43 games the next year, that would probably be worst case scenario. How badly could next season go? Oh, you win 43 games and you're the 9 seed. And
you get absolutely killed by the Miami Heat, who just embarrassed Trae Young.
So it can't be worse than that.
Yep.
It in all likelihood will be 3.5 games better than that at least. But I'm just spiritually, I'm kind of off this team a little bit.
Yeah, I can completely understand why. It's just embarrassing for them saying they're bored of the regular season while losing games and then just putting up a lackluster season when they had so much potential. You just never see that and you hate to see it. So completely fair enough if you're off the vibes of the team. Do you want to move on to the next team?
Yeah.
The Charlotte Hornets are 36.5, which would put them in at the 11th seed. I've gone under. You have also gone under. So we're assuming, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, no Miles Bridges. He will not be playing basketball. Man, I've just done this another Halliburton / Prime Dragic sort of, can you be that guy to LaMelo Ball here? But if LaMelo Ball hits his top watermark, which I think could be very much an All-NBA player, he's still playing next to Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. So who knows what's going on. This team should have tanked the season prior, but they were just addicted to the play-in. So this is a perfect opportunity to tank, and I think 36 is quite high. Where's 36 wins coming from?
This team is going to be awful. This team is what is it? It's a Gordon Hayward if he's available, obviously alongside LaMelo, Rozier,
Tesla of Mason Plumlee. Yeah, they do.
Mason when, not if, Conley.
He's had 2 triple doubles now, so
That's what I'm talking about. When, not if. The Martin twin, Cody Martin.
he was good.
Yeah,
It's- yeah.
It's a pretty thin roster.
36 is a lot of wins for a very bad team.
Yeah.
Last season they won 43, and that was with a most improved player like Miles Bridges, who's obviously probably not going to be playing basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of sucks when you take away a team's second best player and try and ask them to win games.
Well, it sucks for the team.
It sucks for
Trying
the
to win
team
basketball, that when the guy is Miles Bridges, I think it's a net
when the
positive.
guy deserves not to be a second best player on a team. The next team are the Washington Wizards, whose numbers set at 35.5, putting them behind the Charlotte Hornets. What have you done with this number, over or under?
I've gone under just because, like, the Washington Wizards are going to win 36 games. Okay, show me. Show me.
That's all they do.
Nah. All they do is what? Let's see.
35.
35 last year.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, like, sure. If they go over and they win 38,
You're not crying
whatever.
about this.
Nah, I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Beal, Porzingis, like, new opportunities there, but everything else is still the same. Everything else is still the same collection of guys. Wondering, like, which of these recent first round picks is going to pop, which of our, like, 10 centers is going to prove to be the one that's, like, the starting center for the future. And, like, none of the first round picks ever pop. None of the centers ever establish themselves.
Everyone's really down on who's the guy that they got, like the scoring guard out of he was like
Anthony Gill.
that might be my least favorite. Johnny Davis. Everyone's like super down on Johnny Davis the second he got drafted, and it's like, yeah, he fell. Like, calm down. Like, do you want to go in the second round? Just wait till the Wizards draft picks underperform before saying that they're going to underperform.
No, but it is it is a tradition like no other. The Wizards' late lottery pick underperforming.
We're almost there.
I think my voice box might be maxing itself out.
I can speak for you for the next 1.5.
I'll communicate to you in sign language.
I've gone over.
Yeah, I have nothing else left to say.
I've gone over because I really like their centre depth, the Zinger and Gafford. Kuzma's good at basketball.
Yeah,
Kuzma's a good
great role
third
player,
option,
yeah.
and he's only gotten better since leaving LA. But the Wizards are just made to win 30-something games. And if Bradley Beal
what does it start with you? Always starts with a 3.
if Bradley Beal can be a 30-point per game scorer on a 30-win team again, that's just that's the way the universe is. That's
You're on the wrong side of the 30-30 ratio, the points per game to wins vortex.
All right, final team here, the Orlando Magic, whose numbers set at 25.5. They are projected to be the 14th seed. I've gone under. You've gone under. I'm going to try and speak for you here and say incentive to lose. Full stop.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to say one thing, which sucks because I know your throat hurts. But
you got a podcast, say it.
they've got a little bit of 2021-22 Cavs potential here.
Oh, that's huge.
Which is a team that's like... Now, I'm definitely not... I've still picked the under. I don't believe it. I don't believe it enough to change my decision. But the Magic have competent players like the Cavs last year, and the Cavs just brought in a draft pick that just brought it all together. So this Orlando roster has Wendell Carter Jr., Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, John Isaac, Terrence Ross, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero. They did have Gary Harris, but he's actually just torn a meniscus. The poor guy. That's like 7 to 8 good players on their team, and that's what the Cavs were, and it just worked. And like the Cavs ended up being the 10 seed. the 8th seed and then lost in the play-in because they were just decimated
They
by
were better
injuries.
than that the whole year.
Yeah, and they just had good players like Wendell Carter Jr. You're like, okay, yeah, he's a good center and he's got a little bit of upside. If Paolo Banchero is that go-to offensive hub, and this is going to be his worst season for the next 10 years, like if he is going to be what he is going to be, that's still fine. Like Luka Doncic in his rookie season was a 16-point per game scorer who was quite efficient. Cole Anthony, I don't love it, but Markelle Fultz, like if he's healthy, you're just running every transition game. John Isaac should be able to switch on every single pick and roll. I don't know what he's doing, but like I mean, he's still listed as injured, so who knows? And Franz Wagner is good at basketball.
Yeah, I think that they could either go towards being that 2021 Cavs, or they could go towards being the in perpetuity Wizards, because they've got a lot of like competent young basketball players who have not yet done that much to distinguish themselves, and who could very easily just end up being like average NBA players, like in your Denny and your Rui type mode, where it's like, oh, like a lot of draft pedigree, but you're actually just fine.
But unlike the Wizards, at least they have the number 1 overall draft pick.
Yeah, and at least they got 44 points.
All right, Dante, that was the fastest we've ever wrapped up Eastern Conference over under or Western Conference over under.
Hey, I'm kicking goals.
Credit to our podcasting acumen after doing this 3 or 4 times.
Acumen. Well, this is 4 times.
I can't believe it. I think it's 3.
Nah.
Just don't tell me again,
You're
because I
tripping.
will look stupid.
You're tripping.
Do you like the new posters I got on the wall? Beatles?
Yeah, but where'd the old ones go?
In the office, mate.
In the
So now when
office.
I'm taking very sophisticated Zoom calls, I've just got The Rock with
Fuck's that guy?
George Harrison.
Never seen him before.
You're an idiot.
What, you play the trumpet or the flute or something?
He played guitar and vocals.
My-
you should watch his movie. Very spiritual person and actually like a real sensible guy.
I famously am both spiritual and sensible. So.
Yeah. He's also cautiously optimistic.
Oh my god! Don't tell me. He gets it from his mum.
He gets it right.
Oh shit.
All right, Dante. I'll speak to you next week. We were over the moon when we first heard that the NBA was going to be televised on Australian free-to-air TV in the 2019-20 season. It didn't exactly go swimmingly, with the nasty cough halting the season and games getting cancelled left, right and centre, but it was a huge step and an exciting one for basketball fans all across the country.
Better yet, it wasn't a commercial channel cashing in on some basketball nerds like us. It was SBS, one of our public broadcasters. Unfortunately, the NBA wasn't the only thing SBS was pushing last season. They also ran advertisements from Sportsbet, Ladbrokes, Bet365, BetEasy, and Neds, some of the biggest sports betting companies in Australia.
In a one step forwards, 2 steps backwards move, SBS has dropped the ball here. As a public broadcaster, SBS plays a key role in providing relevant, culturally appropriate health information to local communities. The last thing SBS should be doing is offering a platform for gambling companies during the most financially unstable time in recent memory.
This past year, men aged 18 to 24 made up 79% of new gambling account holders, with increased median spending and frequency of bets. This is the last thing we should be spending our money on, given the financial uncertainty that comes with the pandemic. During COVID lockdowns, wagering companies spent more money on advertising and incentives to gamble, and it worked. SBS needs to hear from viewers that gambling ad revenue isn't worth the harm it causes. Call on the SBS chair, George Savitas, to put community health ahead of gambling revenue by signing the petition at www.endgamblingAds.org.au/get gambling off SBS with hyphens in between.